In this lecture, I'll discuss the ethical dimension of leadership. We will discuss a leader's role in establishing an ethical climate. Recall that in Area 3, we began with a lesson about the leader as an ethical member of the organization, in which we looked at personal and professional ethical conduct from the perspective of the leader as just an individual in the organization. In this lesson, we're going to discuss how the leader influences the climate in the organization, which in turn influences the likelihood that members of the organization will perform both personally and professionally in an ethical manner. First, we want to analyze the ethical climate. First, we want to look at, are there clear guidelines as to what's ethical or what's unethical? Most organizations have rules, regulations, policies, SOPs, things of that nature, many of which determine or spell out for the members what is considered ethical and or unethical conduct. There are, however, circumstances that we encounter which may not be included in rules, regulations. As the environment we operate in changes, it's difficult for policy and procedure to keep track of those changes in the greater society. The very technology that we're making use of in this video was something new that many organizations struggled with in terms of professional use of video capture, both in patrol cars, personal video cameras that officers carried on the street, and also in terms of personal use of social media. All of those circumstances were new, and organizations struggled to make formal statements and formal decisions about what was considered ethical. One of the main things we want to determine, though, is if what is really allowed in the organization is contrary to what's in the written policy and procedure. We don't want a situation in which it's really okay to violate some rules but not okay to violate others. Because when we encounter that sort of a situation in an organization, it's difficult for people then to determine exactly which rule it is they should follow and which rule they don't actually have to follow. We want to examine how reward and punishment is used in an organization. We want to determine if unethical behavior is actually rewarded, which is possible, and we want to determine whether or not people can be punished either formally or informally for ethical conduct. Both of those circumstances are obviously problematic. We want to determine if there are dysfunctional levels of competition or stress. Recall that in Area 1, when we discussed goal-setting theory, one of the downsides or potential downsides of goal-setting theory is that goals will be so difficult to achieve that people will be tempted to take shortcuts, either procedural or ethical shortcuts, in order to achieve those goals. So we want to make sure that we don't set people up in situations where common human frailties come to bear or come to rise, and people perform unethically simply because we've asked too much of them. We also want to examine whether or not officers feel comfortable reporting unethical behavior. This may vary in different organizations, and in many organizations officers are comfortable reporting very egregious forms of unethical behavior, but more minor or less egregious forms of unethical behavior are sometimes overlooked. Also, we want to examine whether or not officers feel comfortable confronting their peers and telling their peers what they expect from them in terms of unethical conduct. So we're not looking at simply just the extent to which someone will formally report a person for unethical conduct. We want to determine whether or not the members of our organization are willing to, one, tell others what they believe is ethical and unethical behavior, and two, to pressure them to conform to those norms. After we analyze the situation, we need to try to influence that climate. And our analytical framework shapes our leader strategies. First, we want to set clear guidelines as to what is ethical and what is unethical. We want policies, procedures to be very clear. We want them to be well written. We want them to be widely discussed. We want them to be debated before they're formalized. We want people to clearly understand. We also want to make sure that there aren't any rules or regulations which are commonly disregarded or ignored in the organization. We also want to, as quickly as possible, keep track of what's going on in our operational environment so that as our members encounter new ethical challenges, then we can quickly make it clear to them what's expected. We want to reward ethical behavior and punish unethical behavior. That's easier said than done. We know from our lesson 1 in motivation through consequences that what we reward we're going to see more of, that what we punish we will see less of, but that with merit principles at play, which are entirely appropriate and we know are principles that help organizations reach a higher level of professionalism, but we also know that that limits the speed with which we can punish. But we should work through those processes as fast as we possibly can and punish unethical behavior. We need to monitor competition and stress so that it doesn't become dysfunctional. We need to, again, another reason why in goal setting and the lesson that we just completed on change, we need to ensure that members of the organization play a role in establishing what our change strategies are, what our goals are that we want to accomplish, so that we don't try to stretch the members of the organization too far so that they take procedural or ethical shortcuts in accomplishing the goals. Finally, we want to ensure that subordinates have channels to report unethical behavior. We need to ensure that they're first and foremost willing to communicate to their peers what they think is ethical and unethical. Secondly, to communicate to their peers when they believe that they're performing unethically, and to pressure them to conform to what is considered ethical behavior in the organization. We also want subordinates to feel comfortable reporting unethical behavior, and we need to try and establish processes or procedures where they can do so. Even if we wanted to move to the point where we establish methods for individuals to report unethical behavior in an anonymous fashion. And while many of us may think that is problematic, my personal experience in organizations is that those that do that typically generally only find those procedures utilized in some egregious cases and therefore entirely worth the effort. So again, whatever you choose in your organization, ensure that you attempt to develop a system where people feel comfortable reporting unethical behavior.